We got this story for you guys. I'd like to congratulate our good friend. This is, what's his name? Rep. Donald Payne Jr. Congratulations, good sir, for winning an election from beyond the grave.
Sick.
A dead Democrat won his primary.
His office, so he had a heart attack, and his office initially was like, everything is fine, no worries, he's going to be back soon. And then it came out that actually he had been on a ventilator for weeks.
Wow.
He was in a coma, and his office was like,
That's sad.
He's recovering. No, also, he took the seat that his dad previously, his dad died, vacated a seat, he got this seat.
What?
Yeah.
It's a cursed seat.
And so, I mean, obviously, death is sad. This has happened a couple times before. Like, Hale Boggs went missing in Alaska, but it was so close to his primary, like his name was already on it, he won anyways. So it does happen on occasion, but I think Democrats in Congress are in a weird position. We know the margin is really tight right now. It's only like 4 seats difference.
New Jersey's 10th district is cursed. And if you are running for Congress, you could fall victim to that curse.
Well, what if there's a new election and Republican wins it or something else happens? Like,
and then he has a heart attack.
It's just, and a ghost. Eventually they're like, we'll just put a ghost in. They're in the best shape to hold this. And they say, it's not term limited, so the ghost stays in for 100 years.
The real story is that people voted for him. Mm-hmm. Why? Because people don't care about anything.
Yeah, because they mostly don't pay attention. They
don't care. All they care about is Democrat, Republican.
Yeah, and I seriously wonder, did any of them know he had died? Because again, his office was weird about it. I mean, I remember his passing. It's very sad for his family. You know, he has young children. Again, his office had been a little bit sketchy about not being honest about the fact that he wasn't in good conditions, that things were looking pretty serious. And so theoretically, that would have been the time when voters were like, oh no, maybe we've got to like plan ahead.
Nobody even tried to run against him.
Mm-hmm. It's an uncontested district.
That's wild, man. And then the people who went and voted, they were like, I'll vote for this guy because he has a D. I said we abolish ballots. Abolish. Solves all the problems.
How do you go in? What's your plan?
You want to vote for someone, you got to write their name down.
Their name down?
Oh, yeah.
That's how it used to be.
Yeah.
Before the Civil War, you had to write someone's name down.
Yeah.
And what would happen is political parties would give people ballots being like, here's a list of the candidates that we like. So what would happen is if we got rid of ballots, Democrats wouldn't give out, there'd be no mail-in ballots anymore. It would literally, they'd bring you a flyer being like, when you go to vote for these people. And anything that arrived in the mail for voting would be blank. And so they'd be like, here's a list of names to write in. People wouldn't do it. Yep. They'd be like, I'm not writing all that down. Right now, you go check a box, and then I can be like, get out of my face. But you get rid of ballots, dead people aren't going to win elections anymore. It didn't used to be like this. Abolish ballots.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, honestly.
But I think this shows...
People don't have time to research all of the different...
And they shouldn't vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Rock the vote, the whole rock the vote in the 90s was a terrible idea.
What was it?
It was a campaign on MTV. It was when Bill Clinton went on and played sax and talked to, the MTV generation
cool
and stuff.
Relatable.
Yeah, he was cool, musician, blah, blah, blah. But the rock the vote was just getting people out to vote. And it didn't matter that they were unaware of what the thing was. And the way that rock the vote was, or if I recall correctly, the way that it was presented, it wasn't partisan. But you still, it wasn't partisan, but you still kind of got the sense that people were probably going to vote for Democrats because the Democrats were the not stuffy ones. Bill Clinton smoked pot. It was kind of like that was the vibe.
Well, it's like when Facebook, pushes everybody to go vote. It's like the vibe behind it.
You're right, but it's 100 times less insidious back in the 90s than it was with Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook only sends notifications to Democrats.
Yeah, it's real bad.
And that's data they actually tracked. Democrats will get a notification saying go vote, Republicans won't.
Yeah.
That's how the game works.
It is. There's a lot of underhanded stuff, and it's going to make it more and more likely that people are going to have less and less confidence in.
Just raise the voting age to 30.
I don't see that happening.
I'm now wondering if Payne's wife is going to run in his place, because the last two times, again, I'm going to reference Hale Boggs and Nick Begich when they went missing in Alaska and they won their elections. It ended up being their wives who ran, and Hale Boggs' wife did win. I think it's always weird when this stuff happens. I think if you were to have no name on the ballot, it would have been interesting because maybe the community would, in this case, have fundamentally been like, oh, well, this person is already someone I know and who's been active in our community, and that's who I think should represent us. But ultimately, I think it's just sort of name association. Like the fact that this guy had this seat for so long after his dad held it for a long time, like this community is just sort of like, I don't know, that's the guy who does this job. It would take more legwork for people to be aware of what's going on. They'd have to be more plugged into their community if they were trying to have to select someone on the fly after someone has
Only
died
net taxpayers can vote. All in favor?
I don't hate it. I don't like...
Got two?
Huh?
Yay?
Yeah.
Yay? All right. The yays have it. From now on, the court of Timcast has agreed, if you're not a net taxpayer, you don't get to vote, which basically means like only the top 20% of income earners in the country get to vote from now on. So that basically means like everybody watching the show, you can't vote anymore. Net taxpayer is not an easy thing to accomplish, because basically the way it works is if you're spending like, if your tax bill at the end of the year is like $20K, you're not a net taxpayer. I think it's got to be like $60,000 or $70,000 in taxes paid before you become a net taxpayer. Yeah.
So what's the actual definition?
It means you are paying more than you are receiving. So the amount of people in this country who pay more than they receive is super small. The overwhelming majority of people in this country, including the working class and middle class, are receiving more from the government than they're paying into it. And it's overwhelmingly the wealthy that are covering the costs. Technically, it's modern monetary theory, and the government just prints money and deficit spends into oblivion until the system crashes.
Do you actually want that?
Want what? Net taxpayer voting? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying it's a perfect solution, but the idea that anyone can show up to a polling station, vote for a dead guy. I think the dead guy should be the one in office, and no one can challenge him. He should be the one on the ballot. They should not remove him. That people want what they want. If they voted for a dog, the dog is the mayor. I've seen it happen.
It's getting done. Well, you voted for a dead guy, man. It's your own fault.
Remember when the Republicans voted for the trans anarchist Satanist in New Hampshire?
Yeah, she almost won too.
That's right.
She just got out of jail too. It was crypto stuff though, so
weird.
In jail.
So a transgender anarchist Satanist ran as the Republican sheriff, I believe, right?
She was trying to run for sheriff
and won the primary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Republicans started freaking out, like, who did I vote for? What? And I was laughing. I was like, you deserve it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, not really. I mean, I guess. But it proves a great point.
Yeah, it does.
People will vote for anyone as long as the right letter is next to their name. This is not voting. The system doesn't work. Right now, we have a contest between two warring oligarch parties about who can get the most pieces of paper with signatures on them. No one's actually voting for anything meaningful. And the problem is Donald Trump beat them at their own game, so they lost their minds, and now their game ain't working no more, and they can't stop Trump. So this is what they're resorting to. But elections weren't supposed to be real. There you go.
Elections weren't supposed to be real.
Right.
Well,
Not
I've
in the
floated
past
before
100
that
years.
only married men who own property and have children should vote. So I think, there's all kinds of ways we could improve the voting system.
How about only married men who own property and have children and who served in the armed forces?
Get really specific. Interesting.
You had to have served this nation, have a real stake in the future of this nation, and that includes land and family.
I think the land and family are actually a big part of it. I mean, I think ultimately we want our voters to be engaged in our civic process, and I remember Vivek Ramaswamy talked about this, right? Like, you want people who feel as though they are actively participating in the society, that they have ties to the culture, and especially to their communities, to be the people casting votes to decide what happens here. And I think, again, like, dead congressmen on ballots are sort of complicated. Did they print it already? Should they have voted for him? I don't know. But I think the voters should be people who feel invested in the future of the nation.
Is there any precedent of countries having systems like you're describing?
The United States?
When?
When it first started, you had to be a landowner to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
And a man. I'm not a historian on the voting processes of other countries. I'd imagine all of them. In fact, I'd imagine most of them don't allow you to vote at all.
The vote was fairly novel in like 1800. You know what I mean? It's not like it was common for the average man to be able to vote. The average person, like you hear a lot of feminists talk about the fact that like it took so long for women to get the vote and et cetera, which is a blatant lie, because if you look at on a societal time scale, right, how long human beings have been human beings and we've had societies, the men got the right to vote, and instantaneously women did. If you look at it as at a full-time scale, it was what, 50 years, 100 years, less than 100 years women got the vote. So in 200,000 years that human beings have been human, and 100,000 years that we've had fairly complex societies, and they didn't have votes, like, didn't at all. And all men didn't have enfranchisement when the U.S. was created. It was only, we were talking select few. So then even beyond that, once all men got enfranchised, actually all men, it was almost instantaneously that women did too. It's just that if you say that men oppressed women, then you can go ahead and demand goodies from the government. Because
I want to show you this map. This is really funny. This is a map of countries with women's right to vote, yes and no. And you can see there's only one country listed where women don't have a right to vote. You know what country that is? It's Eritrea. Do you want to know why that's funny? Because North Korea is listed as, yes, women can vote. That's a good one.
I mean, Iran.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Saudi Arabia.
Women can vote and run.
Does Saudi Arabia have elections? They're a kingdom.
So this is actually, in 2015, women are granted the right to vote and hold office. There are no national elections in Saudi Arabia. It's an absolute monarchy. What is this map?
Yeah.
Look, Greenland has no data. If you're a woman in Greenland, you can't vote.
What website is this?
Worldpopulationreview.com. This is fun.
Suspect.
Saudi Arabia allows women to vote, but it's an absolute monarchy with no elections. Huh? What?
I want to fact check that because there was all this criticism of Saudi
I guess it's
Arabia.
local elections.
Yeah, and there was this. They're in charge of, I can't remember. Maybe it's the UN's like feminism conference this year, and people are like, "But it's Saudi Arabia. Like, no, they're historically not super friendly to women." But I guess Saudi Arabia is really trying to change their image. They let women drive now with male chaperone. Like, it's very funny, but it's all just to appeal to the West.
I do think it's funny too that like there are countries that are gray. They just don't know. Benin, it's like, they might be able to. I'm not sure. Guinea-Bissau, I don't know. What's this? Or is that Timor-Leste? How do you pronounce that?
Timor. I'm pretty sure you got Timor right.
New Caledonia, not sure. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. Maybe there are many more countries where they can't actually vote. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.